Hello, my name is Todd Schmidt. I'm with Tarkett Technical. Today we're here to do a Powerbond video on stairs. In this video, we're going to show straight step with a straight drop waterfall. The other configuration, we're going to show a VI on a waterfall, and then we have a bump out step, and then a bump out step with a VI, and then a full wrap step. So we'll show those, but before we can start with that, we have to make sure the floor prep is done and the stairs are prepared properly for the install. When we start this installation, first thing we need to do is remove all the existing treads or carpet or whatever may be on the steps. As you can see, this comes off relatively easy, which is a good day for me as an installer. But underneath here, you'll see you may have multiple layers. All of this existing material needs to be removed. All paint, varnish. If you're working with concrete and you have old adhesive, all of it needs to be removed. So what we've done here, because we have a soft wood, we've used belt sanders. We've used things like on a Dremel where you could sand it off. If these were concrete, we would use mechanical means only. We would use hand scrapers. Some people will use the machines that will profile concrete that are like a grinding wheel. If the install is very hard to get off, you can use these to remove all the existing glue. It may be small, but sometimes it works very well. It's very hard to get that adhesive off, but all of it needs to be removed so that when we're done, you have a nice, clean, smooth substrate or concrete or wood that will accept and make the contact adhesive work as it's supposed to. So once we get that done and we're to this stage, we'll take them, we'll prime them. Now we have primed these so you can see the color is a little different already, but you can take a hot dog roller and basically prime the stairs. And you want to make sure you get all the way to the edge. Try not to leave any puddles. If you have a puddle like this, make sure you roll it out so it dries faster. All the way to the edge, front and center. And when we do a step like this, it'll be a full wrap. So you'll need to remove the material and prime the entire step so we got a good bond all the way around with the open view. And you'll do that with concrete as well. So any repairs that need to be made, if I have concrete steps and I need to use cement-based patch to actually do the repairs, I will then use the C36 primer to prime the wood for porous substrate and prime for concrete and patch. Now that we have the stairs fully ready to be installed, we had removal of the existing, we've got them all primed, they're smooth, they're clean, they're ready for adhesive. We'll be using Tarkett 946 water-based adhesive. There's no smell and the bond is phenomenal. So when you apply this stuff, what you'll want to do is protect the carpet below with something like this as I'm applying it, or you will apply it over top of something to protect your carpet here. So this 946 can be used on Tarkett RS pre-applied adhesive, which has the release liner. Just make sure you take the plastic off before you do that. And then you'll apply the contact cement right on top of the pre-applied adhesive, the RS. And Tarkett 946 can be used on dry back. So that's what we'll be using. And you'll be coating these up. Put a nice clean layer on there. And as you spread this stuff, you can then take a roller and you can make sure that you smooth it out. You want to make sure you get enough adhesive on there, and you want to make sure that you coat the back of the carpet as well as the substrate with substantial adhesive to make sure you get a good bond. Now what you'll notice is there are some marks that I've placed on the centers of the steps and on the risers, and there are also lines across the step where I'm going to have a VI strip. The strip will be installed separately. And I put the marks here on a regular waterfall step, and on the one up here that has the setback, that has been marked as well. So we'll apply the adhesive over that. When it dries, we'll be able to see all the lines through the adhesive. Okay, now that our contact adhesive is dried to the touch, there's no transfer. I'm going to apply the first step, which is a waterfall, a straight drop, and each piece has to be cut individually. You cannot take a 4'6" and waterfall 3 steps. Each step has to be placed individually. So to do this, I'll revert back to the marks that I made earlier. Do the adhesive, reverting to that, and reverting to the mark I put here on the center, leaving an inch to trim. If I would bring this in and place it, as soon as it touches, I'm in trouble if I don't have it exactly where I need to have it. So what I've done, I'll do this. As long as the contact cement don't touch itself, I'm fine. So there's my point. Here's my point here. I bring this in, I push it onto the riser. I get my two marks together, and I go one way first. I'll go this way. That way I'm ensuring that I'm against the riser, and I've got this step on. Now I'll go this way. So rather than start here and work across, I went from the middle and went out. That way I'm sure that I have it tight fit. And then I will take and I will tractor it with a tractor. I could use this 3-section hand roller. And some guys will even take this and go like that to kind of finish it off. And then you can use this to tuck it in. And then you'll take a very sharp utility knife and you will trim it to this point. When I get to this point, I do not want to put a lot of pressure. I do not want to stretch the carpet. I just want to make contact. So I'll bring my two thumbs down and I make contact. Then I'll go this way and I increasingly keep it straight and make my contact across. Then I go the other way. And then I'll bring it down. So with my tractor, I'll bring it in full contact. I can take my stair tool, get it a little closer, ready for the trim. Okay, so what you have is fully bonded. In the case that you would touch it where you don't need it and you pull it off, you will remove adhesive from here or from here and it will pop. I would need to recoat that before I put it back in with additional adhesive and make sure it's dry fully, and then that will eliminate any problems of it releasing later. Since we didn't do that by the method that we installed it, it should be fine. It'll be there forever. Now the next step that I'm going to do is the same profile with a waterfall, but what we've incorporated here is a VI strip, with a visual impairment strip that will be placed on the nosing only to draw attention to the step. So if the architect or somebody says they want 2 inches here and 2 inches here, and you cut them all 4 inches, guess what? You're going to be short. So what you'll do, you'll take a piece of scrap carpet when these are not glued, and you can apply it on here. There's no adhesive on here, it shouldn't really stick. And that is my measurement to get 2 inches on front and 2 inches on top. And if you'll notice, it is actually almost 4 1/4. So you'll use a piece of scrap before you cut all these and cut them in correctly. Now here I've done the same thing. I got my center point here, my center point for my strip. I'll bring it like this. I line it up on my line, and I'll take one side first. I'll follow my line out. I got a little bit to trim. Then I'll do this side, staying on my line. I got a little bit to trim. I can use a little steel roller, ensure my contact. I can tuck that in. I can get this off. And again, with very little pressure, I just want to make contact. Now, sometimes if you feel you need additional heat, you can take a heat gun and run through here a few passes and warm that up, and it'll turn into a t-shirt. So you can just roll this down. I don't feel I need to use any heat. And we'll place this in, get that in, cut these off. So there my VI strip has been installed. So when we're putting the visual impairment strips on, we need to seam seal the strip to the field. With doing that, we'll be using Target 54 seam weld, and we'll be using Target 77 cleaner to clean the seams and remove any seam sealer that may get into the face fiber. You have to use a white rag when you're doing this because this solvent base will bleed color out of rags like a red or blue rag. So you want to make sure it's a white rag, will have no transfer. Now this riser, since I've marked the center, it doesn't really matter how big it is, as long as I go center to center, this mark to my mark, and then I trim either side. So I'll do the same thing. I've cut these just a scotch big. I bring this in and I just overlap here at the top. Okay, so I know that I've got enough that it won't go in, so I have to tuck it. So once I weld it, I will be able to tuck it. So we'll get it to here. Then we'll do this side. I want to be just strong, like that. I'll get this in. So now that I've got this position that I can tuck it, I will take my seam weld and I will put it on the top. So everything is kind of backwards, but you'll need to do this when you do upholstery work. And I'm being very careful just to put it on the edge of the cushion where it needs to go. So then I'll take this and I will fold this under. And you can see, you don't want to put this on too hard so that if I have to remove it a little bit, I don't take the adhesive off of it. So by doing it with this isn't really stuck yet. I'm able to pull this out, I'm able to tuck it and push it up to the red. Now that I've got across here, I will track in the seam. And it's very important on stairs, you're going to make a mess. So I will take my seam cleaner, I'll poke a hole in it so I don't make another mess, and I will wipe these. Even if I'm not sure I got any on there, I'll make sure that it's off there when I leave. Okay, so now I can take this all the way down. Sometimes you'll be able to tuck this in. If your cut guy and your measure guy are good, it'll be nice and tight, or you can always make it a 1/2 inch big and trim every one of them. There we go. And then you can just clean it up and make sure it's nice and pretty. There's your step. So now that I've completed the riser portion and the visual impairment strip, I need to put the step in. So again, I'll take my carpet as I've done previously. I can roll it up. I bring my points together. I push it back to the rise, okay? And I can install it that way. And I can use a window method where I cut slits and put a straight edge on here to cut that off. Other people will do it this way. I'm to the middle. I will bring my piece out just to the edge where I have a little bit that won't go down. Okay, so this I can actually tuck now. I will roll this over and get right to where I can tuck it. So by placing it like this without putting it in, I can't push this down. So now I will seam seal it. I can pull this back. I can put the weld in like I would on the floor with this application, different from the riser. And then what I'll do is I'll pull this out and I will tuck it. I just kind of gradually roll it in with my finger. Okay, and you can see it's kind of humped up here still. I'm tucking it in so that the two backings come together and the seam weld is on the cushion only. So as that tucks in, now I got a little bit of a hump here. So what I can do, when I tractor that out, that's a nice tight fit. Not too tight, but it's tight enough that it's just like a double cut. So then I can take this and I can fix anything that I think I need to put additional pressure on. That looks good. I'll tuck this in. I'll bring this across the back. And then I will trim it in. Tuck that. Now when I look at this, sometimes I'll see that I do not have this tucked in all the way. I can take a hook knife or a stair tool and I can push that up and push that back so that the contact is made and there's no void in my seam. So that looks really good there. So now we're going to go to the profile that has the bump out here. It has like a 3/4 or a 1-inch setback. This step can be done typically like the other ones, where I would come in this way and then bring it over the nose, tuck it up underneath there and cut it off. Okay, there's a lot of room for error there. So what I've done here, you can do it that way, whatever you prefer. I found it simpler if I take this piece and I come in this way. So here's my center of my carpet that I'll use. I bring it into my riser. And I must stress too, this bottom needs to be very clean and have contact adhesive on it as well. So you really need to get it up underneath here so this contact will make contact here and hold that in place. So what we'll do, we'll bring this in. I'll push it into the back. I come up. And by doing it this way, I'm making sure that I got a net fit onto that riser with that little piece that goes underneath there. And I'll show you a little trick that helps when we get to that point. By doing it this way, I can then apply the riser, which will help hold this little piece up underneath there if there's any issues. Put a little relief here, a little relief there. Now I just do it backwards. I'll take this piece and I'll fold it here in the middle. I'll bring it up. And I'm trying not to put a lot of pressure or tension on the bend. I'm just making contact. And now I'm at the top. I'm pushing it on. I could even tractor it now if I wanted to. And now I bring it down. So I'll take this. I'm trying not to bend it. All I'm doing, no pressure. I'm just bringing it in contact. Okay. All right, let's just trim this one in. Make sure I got 100% contact. Then I'll immediately jump to my riser, which would be here. And this will need trimmed. So I make sure I keep it down onto the step below it. Work it out. And I want this to be tight to help hold that in, even though I know I don't really need it, but I don't want any gaps. Because as you're walking up the steps, you can see that portion underneath there. And then I'll tuck with this, or I'll tuck with this. So now when I feel up underneath here, the riser is actually helping to hold that piece in place. It'll never fail. All right, when I have a bump out like this, I can show you how I got it to where it actually net fit back there. Okay, I could cut it, if I measure this and I say this is 13 inches, I could cut it 14 and I could put it on and I could trim it. If I wanted to net fit without measuring, without leaving extra to cut, I can take a piece of carpet like this, I can put it up underneath there where it needs to go, you know, like I did down here, then I'll wrap this up, okay? And I'll hold it tight, and then from here to here, I'll get my measurement. Okay, so with that measurement, that'll be a net fit, or I can leave an inch long so that I can trim it. So this VI strip, visual impairment strip, that goes on this bump out, if I would measure this and cut it, most times it would be wrong. So you would take a piece of scrap carpet, you would push it up to the riser on the bottom, you would wrap it up and wrap it over, and you'll see that my lines are true to this piece, this size. And if I cut my piece of carpet to that size, that's going to be the piece that I need. It'll be a net fit from line to riser. I'm going to take my cut piece and I'm going to come in. Here's my center. Here's my center. I'm going to make sure that it's up against the riser going back. I come one way, tuck it up in there. I go the other way. And again, it's very, very important that this underside of this nosing here, where I'm sticking it first, is clean and has a lot of contact adhesive on there that is fully dry. So then I'll make a little relief here, a little here. Now I'll take this, without actually trying to stretch it, I just bring it up and make contact. And work my way across this way. And then I work it up this way. I can hit that with this. I can put pressure with this up underneath there. Now I'll trim them off. Then, without trying to stretch it or apply too much pressure, I just lightly come down and make contact. And I'll slowly work this over. And I go this way, keeping it uniform. And then I'll apply pressure with this first. Get it tucked a little. And then I'll roll it. So now I'm ready for the riser. Now in this particular scenario with the bump out with the visual impairment strip, having this applied first, I have my carpet already on this bottom piece. I have my carpet on my tread. So this is my true distance that I need to fill, is about 6 inches. So I'll check it all the way across using my tape measure, and it's 6 inches all the way across. So I'll cut this piece, and I could even, since I got my line started, I can cut this 33 1/4 and it'll fit in there without trimming. Some people will do that on all of them. Some people will, the method will vary depending on your ease and your comfort level of installing. So now that I have my riser cut at 6 inches by 33 1/4, I'll bring it in here. I'll lay it flat and make no contact until I make sure it's going to fit, and that's very good. So then I'll bring this up, I'll push down to make sure that I don't have a gap at where the tread meets the rise. Make my contact there first, then I'll roll it up, and I can even take this piece and bend it in like this and roll it in to the back, and then I will attach it completely. So by doing it that way, it was very fast. I didn't have to trim, but again, If your stringers are all lumpy, it's best to trim. If I know I got true things and I can work with a direct measurement, more power to you. So now I'm going to take the riser, the tread. Now, normally there would be a riser back here. So I'm going to pretend there still is. I'm going to take my piece and I'm going to bring it in this way, and I'm going to I got plenty on each side. You can notice I don't have tape with a mark in the center, but I got plenty here and plenty here to trim. I'll bring this in to where it's just strong on my VI strip. I will bring it out. So I'm doing the same thing that I did before. It will not go in. I'll have to tuck it in to do it correctly. So I'll put this right about there. We'll pull this back because I didn't actually apply too much pressure to it. I'll be able to get my weld in here. And then I will tuck this like this. Come the other way with it. Then I'll make sure this is nice before I actually tractor it. I can push it down with my fingers first. And again, very important to use your cleaner on these seams to make sure that you don't have to come back and deal with a white line. So the fourth scenario is a floating step. No riser. This is typical in like corporate settings where you wouldn't have open view, so they leave them open. If I'm going to completely carpet this, bottom, sides, front, back, most guys would come in, they would take a measurement, they would wrap this around here, they would measure it, they'd say, okay, that's 25 inches. And if you go cut 14 of them at 25 inches, you bring them back, you're ready to install. This one is cut at 25 inches. And if you'll notice, 25 inches with a tape measure is short with an actual piece of carpet. Would not recommend trying to net fit anything. So 25 inches is short. I'm going to cut these pieces at 28. I will have the seam on the bottom and I will double cut the seam just like I would if it was flat lay, and that will complete the seam. I will seam seal it and weld it with no staples on these wooden steps. No staples necessary. So what I've done, I've marked the side of my carpet this time. I have a mark on the side of my stringer this time. Okay, and this has been cut to net fit. So what I'll do, I'll bring this in here loosely, keep it elevated, and I keep this kind of loose. I don't make full contact until I get my other side net here. So now I got this little bit of floating that when I press this down, okay, now I got full contact. It's nice and tight. I'm not short because I made it a little big. I'll roll it this way. And just like all my other previous applications, without too much pressure, I just make contact. I bring this down. I roll this with my fingers. I make sure I got contact on the nose itself as I come around the nose. So all this is made contact. Once I make contact in the contact to contact adhesive, that isn't moving. It's not going anywhere. So then I'll take and I can tractor this ahead. I can tractor this. Okay, this piece in. I'll start in the middle. I make contact and I roll. Okay, now normally there'll be somebody underneath there working from the bottom, hopefully on a scaffold or something, depending on how high it is. I'll roll this one. onto my back of my step, go underneath. So then I'll take to continue this piece back to where I started with an overlap that I will double cut. So just like on flat lay, but upside down, I'll take my utility knife and I will make a cut, a double cut, straight line, serpentine. It really doesn't matter much underneath here. But then I will seam seal that and weld it together, and that will complete the installation. Now, I don't even want to mention this, but if you run into problems with wooden stairs, you can use a nailer. So if I had to put a staple or two in here, I would lightly touch it and shoot it so that I don't dimple the carpet. If I would push real hard, I would create dimples everywhere that are very noticeable. You shouldn't need this. Okay, so what I'm going to talk about now is upholstering. Okay, that would be carpet on 3 sides. I got it on the step, I got it on the riser, and in this case, this is exposed. Okay, so it needs to be covered. So in like an auditorium or a tiered seating section in a school, you'll have large areas of flat lay coming out to here and then dropping to the first step, to the second step, to another large flat lay aisleway. So sometimes these steps that are in the middle will need to be covered, and that's what we're going to address today. So if I had flat lay carpet coming out to this step, I would install my large sections or areas of flat lay first. I would cut the seams all the way up to the riser and weld them and make sure they're complete, but I would not do anything with the riser until the second day after my C16 adhesive has set up on my flat lay. To do a step this large with contact cement, it's not a problem by myself as long as I have my center points like I used on my smaller steps. And I have to make sure that my material has enough length this way to go all the way to the floor. So this piece will come out, this will come down, and they'll come together with a double cut. So what I'll typically do is I'll mark this angle ahead of time so that I can see it when I'm bringing these around. And I'll show you how to remove the material so you don't take any of this adhesive off of here. So I'm going to take my first piece. I got my center point marking the carpet middle. I'll roll this in. And because of the angle, I need to have this a little more exposed. So I'll just fold it like this. I bring my points together. And I bring that out. Then this piece will go in. So we'll get this, we'll trim it. This carpet's kind of nice. I have lines that I can follow that will actually help me with the install. So I'll get this attached. The most important thing about this piece, when I measure it, I need enough material to get to the floor. Okay? So here's where my lines come important here. If I bring this piece down, I can stick it over here. I find my point here, and I make a cut. So now this piece needs to be removed. So I look up underneath here and I can see where this line is. That's technically where my seam's going to be. So I don't want this coming in contact with this because it will be pulled out of there. So then I will take this and I will cut this off and follow that line like that. Now this, because it's Powerbond, I can fix it to get to the floor. But that's this piece needs to stay. Okay? This piece comes out, and I need to leave a little bit to make a seam. So now with this piece, I come down. I work that in. And this particular profile has a very hard angle here, but it's no problem at all for the Powerbond to wrap it. Maybe get rid of this. Okay, bring this in. Yeah, you gotta be careful. You don't want to touch that bottom step too much. Or you work from the bottom up. I put this one on first because it went to the floor. And you can see that adhesive. Very strong. Yeah. Now this piece will come around. Now, because of the angle of the setback, this piece actually kicks up. So you can see, because of this lineal pattern, this is on an angle and this is straight. There's nothing you can do about that. The angle that I'm going to use here, I removed some of this so this doesn't lose its adhesive. But what I'll do is I can even take my same tool, I can put it on here, and I need to double cut down to where I can make a seam here. So I will double cut this, and I can do it in two as long as I get the same slot. And every scenario with these stairs is going to be different. So you may do a step like I'm doing and then find that, hey, that didn't really work out so well. Let's do it a different way. And you will learn as you go, which is totally fine. But here's where, see how this, we have tape on here to protect the actual substrate. So it's actually releasing the tape. If the contact adhesive does become removed, it does need to be reapplied. So in a real scenario, I would cut this off, I would reapply contact there before I bring this piece in and weld it. So the cut there is done. So I would bring this in, I make sure that's there. I can come across here. Remove this. And now I'm cutting into my tape. Put this back in there best we can. Now here I can put my weld here. And I want to make sure that my weld does not get into my contact cement. So this point here is the most critical. I want to make sure I get weld all the way up in there. I want to keep it on the cushion only, because if that weld gets on that contact cement, it will interfere with the bond between the contact. So I'll put this on here gingerly. It's very hard to get this bottle in here, even with a cut angle, to get it applied that way. So I do it this way, and don't move. When I come into here, I pull this out so that it goes back in. And once this contact underneath my thumb grabs, it will actually hold it in place. This piece I gotta fold a little bit, and I bring this in like that. And then I tuck this in. Then I'll use this steel roller. Now, that looks pretty good. That's the actual mechanics of it. Now I can take this and I can push this in a little right there. As long as that weld is in this intersection, within a few minutes, it'll actually grab and it'll hold. Now, I could stand here for 30 seconds and hold that with my thumb. That weld is pretty much set already. If I wanted to, I could take this, but before I do anything, I know I got some weld on there. I had to have. So just to be cautious, I will gently rub this just to make sure. I don't want to get it too wet. I'll push it, I'll look at it, it looks good. I can actually take this piece of tape and put it here and put it here. We'll actually come out here and stick this. And by the time this falls off, it'll be welded and it'll be fine. So that's something you can do if you need to, if you feel you need to, if you want to do it just to walk away from it and feel comfortable, but that's what you're going to be dealing with. So now this piece here, the second piece is going to come down to here. So I need a little bit, this wasn't supposed to touch too good here. I need to make a seam from step 2 to step 1. So I will leave enough here to make that seam. And our masking tape is really good contact cement. And you can demonstrate it by going like that and pulling. It's very strong. So let me complete this. Now in this particular scenario, I did this step first because I wanted to make sure we went all the way to the floor. Every stair, every installation is going to be different. You may find starting from the bottom like you would with any tread job and working your way up is fine. The techniques and the procedures are going to be the same. It's all going to depend on how you feel you can do the job and get it done efficiently, correctly, and very fast, or fast enough to make good money. So we'll make sure this is all stuck before I go with the first step. We'll take the first step, very similar to my last one. So we go all the way back in and then we work it out. And again, you got to make sure that you're up against the riser all the way back in. This one is the same. You can tuck it, you can not force it, but you could take a stair tool and do that like you would. Works fine. And we'll trim this one off. This is the fun side. And then a lot of times I'll find this point right here and I'll come right to it, not beyond it, but like right in front of it, and I'll make my cut. Okay, so if I wanted to bring this one in first to see if that would be easier, we'll try that. It's not wrong, but you'll find which way works best. And you'll stick with it because you'll know it works, it's fast. Okay, so that looks good. We come out to the edge. There's my line. So when I bring this around, this is going to kick. So look what it's done. Because of the length, because the tail wants to go up because of this angle, I should have actually added an extra inch or two to this to accommodate for that flange. So I'm going to pull it down, which doesn't really work great, but I'm glad that happened. I'm going to cut it off just strong of that line, which I can see. And I would stick this, and I would bring this down. Okay, now, you saw where I made a mistake being short here. I can make it up with this piece, okay? So I have material here to make a seam here horizontally. I'll even just come through here and I'll make a little serpentine. So I'll remove that and I'll hit it twice because it's hard to cut. You want to keep that same line, obviously. Hopefully I did. And we did. Okay, now see, there's where I removed contact cement. This would need to be reapplied to make sure that this doesn't fail later. And on a vertical surface like that, with no traffic, seam weld. We bring it all the way up in. We weld all these seams. You gotta keep the bottle pointing down a little on these angles. And then I wanna make sure that I tuck this in like that. And then, where I'm short here, I can come to here. All right, if I know I got enough material here that this will be bonded well, I can cut straight down through here, but then I'm gonna pull all this material out, okay? So I'd have to recoat that. So let's just, let's take it right to here and see what it looks like. And we're gonna double cut right up to the point. Get my material off the floor. And then we're gonna get this material out. And again, I pulled the tape off. And I can look at it and say, okay, that's gonna be beautiful. So I can take my seam sealer. I put the seam sealer up in here, and again, I make sure that I get it on this critical point and keep it only on the cushion. So then when I bring this back in, I fold this out and I tuck it in, and I bring these two together underneath my thumb, and I let these come together. I work that seam back together. I got my seam here done. Tractor that, tractor everything. And then while this is wet, I make a little corrections here. I can tuck that into that weld. I can use this like that. I can put my finger on it for a couple minutes. I can talk to somebody as it sets. Our seam sealer is very fast, so it does not take long for that to bite. So as long as the contact hasn't been affected by the seam sealer will bond the cushion. The contact cement will hold it in place until the weld is set. So you can see, I did this one a couple minutes ago. It's fine. This one looks pretty good. It should be fine. So I made a small adjustment on, to get this corrected. I made a small adjustment here on my angle. And instead of a 45, my material was short. The next step I'll cut a little more length on the bottom, so when it kicks, I'm okay. Or a length on the front, I should say. And I won't have any more of these. I'll try not to do that again, but because it's Powerbond and because you're double cutting, it can be fixed. If you make a mistake, you fix it. If you do something that you don't like, you don't do it again. If you think you need to use a little heat to make it work better, or do something you're trying to influence it, take a heat gun, a few passes up underneath here, and this really gets soft. It really is a lot more workable. But it's not necessary, but it certainly does help. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't be afraid of stairs. We showed you the scenarios we had over here with the other steps. We showed the upholstery. Hopefully, if you haven't done this, you will not be afraid to try it. It is not that hard. Practice, practice, practice. If you have any questions, you can call our technical support line, technical services. Talk to any one of us, and we can help you with floor prep, material, or installation methods. So good luck, and I hope this helps you. Have a great day.